Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering the Talisker Skye. Now, I haven't covered this yet, and this is crazy. Like 6 years I've been doing this channel, and I've only really covered a handful of Taliskers in the past. It's a high time I've covered this, and a massive thanks to my brother who bought me this for my birthday this year. As I've been kind of passing this by a lot, and I'm not really sure why. It's no real reason, just there always seems to be something better to buy. And I tend to lean away from the kind of like entry-level whiskies into a brand anyway, because usually you'll be looking at the next one on in the list. But we're going to check this one out today and see if it's really worth the money, if you should be looking at this one, and, you know, generally speaking, if it's any good. Let's get into it and see what we've got. Okay, so I've got the glass here, and we'll talk a little bit about why this exists. Now, obviously this is a Diageo malt. Talisker are well known in the industry and a bit further afield. The Talisker 10-year was a mainstay for many, many years. This is what they would call like the entry-level version. You know, there's a couple of NAS, non-age statements in the range now, including like the Storm and Dark Storm and things like that. This one tends to run a little bit cheaper than the rest of them, hence why I call it the entry-level of them all. Now, one of the cool things I like about this is that we're hitting a 45.8% ABV. It's undoubtedly added colour. In fact, I know that it is because on this box here it says it on the back in German, as I love to see. Please, more of that, producers. You know, even if you don't have to put it on there, I would love to see it. A bit more transparency. Thank you. But the ABV is good. I don't know anything about chill filtration, but I can take a good old stab that it is chill filtered because it is slightly less than that 46%, which is that magic. It's like 46.2 or something like that. It's that magic number where chill filtration doesn't really matter anymore. In any case then, this is the kind of basic one. We'll check out the price a bit later on, but let's get into the dram and see what we've got. I'm not going to talk about colour today because, as I said, added colour. Let's get onto the nose. Okay, so for me there's a big fresh brininess, which is kind of like indicative of a Talisker. You know, if you've tried many Taliskers before, they go on about being made by the sea, but they have a kind of salty air brininess to them. This one's definitely got that. Not much smoke. That's just my nose picking that up. Like, not much smoke at all. And there's some kind of like standard caramels and honeys. All things to be expected because this is made in ex-bourbon refill casks, and some of those have been charred, so apparently there's a larger proportion of them, but I don't know that for sure. But why not? It smells interesting enough. Not hugely deep, but you know, it's good enough. I like that kind of like brininess. Let's get onto the palate. Now for me, pleasantly surprised how rich and viscous it is. I think the ABV being much higher than kind of like an entry level 40% ought to be, because it's much higher. I'm getting that little bit of extra viscosity there. Much sweeter than the nose gave on for me, and much less smoke on the palate. So for me, I'm getting kind of like a honeyness coming through. Not like super sickly sweet, I want to impress that, but it is way sweeter than the nose betrayed. And also, it's kind of like a pepperiness, spiciness that's coming out on the back end. The finish isn't huge. It's like a kind of medium in length, but there's a little bit of wispy smokiness on the back end as well. Now for me, I have to say, pretty good. I'm enjoying this dram. You know, like, I know a lot of Diageo drams get a bit of a bad rep, but this is just fine. Now you have to factor in price on that. Now obviously I was given this as a gift, but using my own kind of money as a gauge and seeing the kind of deals that are out there, the RRP for this is about £40 in the UK, and the 10-year-old, which again I haven't actually covered yet, but I should get to that at some point, is only a few quid more RRP. And for me, without having covered the 10 at this point in time, I would say that the 10 is a better whiskey. Still that same ABV, not sure about the cask makeup just yet, but for me it's just a better, well-rounded whiskey. That said, the Skye is very, very, very often much cheaper than that £40 mark I just said. I think you can get it like on Amazon in the UK for 30, if not less. And when it's significantly cheaper than the 10, for me, this is a bit of a no-brainer. Now, I know some people who are big Talisker fans will be dying to kind of nip onto the 10 and beyond, but I think having a great value Talisker about is perfect. Now, again, I caveat that with look at the prices, because sometimes the 10 is also very cheap. I've seen the 10 as cheap as £33. So again, my kind of opinion is that have a look, whatever prices are going right now. If this is more expensive than the 10, it's absolute no-go for me. The 10 is the winner of the day there, without a doubt. But if you can get this for, let's say, £10 or the equivalent in your local area cheaper than the 10, then it's probably a good thing to go and get. If you still think it's good value for you, of course. That's my caveat. But yeah, I think price withstanding, this is a good whiskey that you should definitely go and check out if you're interested in Talisker. It's a bit of a bridging gap for the kind of more salty sea air vibe whiskies and the smokier whiskies and the peatier whiskies. This isn't very peated, but if you're looking to get into those kind of things, Talisker is a great step up into that world of new, bold flavours. And I think for the price of it, this one here wins that gap as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and get the 10. I'm not going to be getting the 18 again. I have covered the 18 way back when, but that has blown up in price now to the point where it's utterly ridiculous to be talked about on another video. I think I even went back to that video that I did in 2018 and wrote a comment to say this is not indicative of today's prices. Bit of a rant there, but yeah, good to see that Talisker is still putting out some good quality and reasonably priced drams, because if this starts going up in price, it'll be an absolute no-no for me. But yeah, around that sort of £30 mark, to round it over, I think it's worth a buy.